Hello everyone, and welcome to the brand new submarine event called Terror in the Deep. Having absolutely no idea how to skill a captain for submarines, I went through the stats of the first 3 subs available for this event. And after realizing that my air supply would be limited and that I couldn't stay submerged safely all the time, I chose the Barracuda, as it has the superior secondary armament. Using the 19-point captain provided, I simply went for a tanky build, simply choosing skills that would enhance the survivability, torpedoes and secondaries. I'm uploading World of Warships content regularly now to YouTube, so if you want to keep in touch, just follow the on-screen instructions. So here we go. From the timer in the center of the screen, I can see I can stay submerged for a maximum of 1 minute and 50 seconds at a time. There are 4 different depth ranges that can be simply controlled by pressing C to dive or to go deeper, and F to raise your depth or surface. We have a solid 8-kilometer torpedo range, so it's time to move up and engage the first wave of enemy battleships. As you can see from the mini-map below, our team is divided into 2 groups. I'm part of the southern group here, and we are separated at the moment, so they will have to look after themselves, as do we. Our aiming reticle shows our angles that we can launch torpedoes from. The greyish line is the predicted course of the target if it remains at current speed and course. The Barracuda comes with 2 different types of fast loading torpedoes. Full damage, which is self-explanatory, and freeze torpedoes, which have the blue tint, which will dramatically reduce the target speed with a successful strike. Torpedoes can only be launched from periscope depth with this accurate aiming pattern, in stark comparison to the much wider aiming reticle when on the surface. So try and get your torps off while at this periscope depth, just below the surface, for optimal results. Attempt to replenish your air supply when possible between reloads, as there will be small breaks in between the waves of enemy ships. The second phase of this operation simply involves navigating your way through these enemy ballistas, which are throwing depth charges out that can inflict some serious damage, so keep your eyes open, maneuver smartly and dive briefly if you get targeted. You can easily use this section to replenish your oxygen tanks so you can deal with the next wave of enemies submerged with a fully stocked air supply. I would suggest moving at top speed to get into strike range, but before actually launching, reducing your speed to half, as I found it much easier to adjust my aim to get off successful strikes quickly. I found while trying to launch at top speeds, it threw off my aim consistently, leading to overcompensating in my turns, which led to even longer delays in actually getting torps off on target. When faced with many targets later on, it's good to practice this and get this down in the first few waves. As simple logic dictates, the quicker you can get off your strikes, the quicker you can reload and be ready for the next target. While we deal with this next wave of enemies, I like to position myself so I have a good field of vision on what and who my friendly submarines are attacking. So I can simply try and avoid wasting torpedoes on low health or already doomed targets. It really aids your team trying to be effective in simple target selection. Our northern group has been moving all the while on a parallel course to our own and has dealt with their waves successfully without losses. And we are rapidly approaching the next section of this operation, which will see us rejoin forces for the final battle. Our team needs to complete 5 secondary objectives here to obtain the full 5 stars and gain the maximum rewards. Well, I get whacked for massive damage there, simply by not keeping my eyes on the ballistas and being alert to the danger. I follow this up by getting tunnel vision on my enemy target here and not spotting my friendly sub surfacing on my right in front of me. Lucky for both of us that friendly fire is turned off and he takes no damage, so we can put that one down to the fog of war. Our northern group is finally converging on our location, so we are about to enter the final phase of this operation. Make sure to replenish your air supplies and prepare yourself. The most important thing to remember here is to keep a very close eye on the secondary objectives in the top left corner of the screen. And do not kill Rasputin until those are completed. It's fine to inflict some damage on Rasputin so he can be quickly finished off, but hold your fire if necessary, as the mission will end when Rasputin is sunk. So any uncompleted secondary objectives will lead to a loss in stars and failure to gain the maximum rewards. Make sure to share this information with your team in advance to avoid any confusion and to avoid those inevitable salty exchanges in the chat. I would suggest trying to stay on the surface as long as possible here, for numerous reasons. The secondary objectives include spotting the onshore gun mounts and locating the Black Lair castle that can be only achieved from the surface, as your spotting range is drastically reduced when being submerged, obviously. Delay that dive for as long as possible, as a large enemy fleet will appear with Rasputin. So being able to stay submerged for as long as possible will allow you to engage safely to keep friendly ship losses to a minimum, as a minimum of 3 subs need to survive.
Torpedoes to port.
Be particularly wary of the destroyers, as they will also dump depth charges, and be very quick to torpedo any unfortunate forced to the surface due to a lack of oxygen. I've got our primary target Rasputin nicely lined up here, so I can begin my attack. I launch all my torpedoes and manage to land 4 solid hits on him, doing quite a large amount of damage. Of course I save my best strike for the end when I intentionally don't want to kill the target immediately, so I hold fire. I can just surface quickly to continue spotting and replenish air supply and just land some secondary hits in the process. Well, being on the surface this close to Rasputin can be quite dangerous. It should also be close enough to spot those final secondary objectives, and just in the nick of time we get confirmation with the green completed appearing in the top right, and Rasputin goes down. I'm uploading World of Warships content regularly now to YouTube, so if you want to keep in touch, just follow the on-screen instructions.